Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Brogan Anderson. He is supposed to be taking on Matt Myers for the Eternal MMA Middleweight Championship in Sydney at Eternal MMA 78 on Friday the 8th of September. That is the UFC 293 weekend. UFC, of course, in Sydney the following night. Now, Matt Myers pulled out with an injury a week or two ago. Brogan Anderson still doesn't have an opponent. We chat some potential opponents that he may or may not have. I do believe that Eternal MMA is still looking to match him on the card. So, look, it's going to be very, very interesting. But, look, we still chat to Brogan either way. We get to learn a little bit about why he moved over to City Kickboxing. City Kickboxing, one of the most renowned gyms in all of the world, with Eugene Bareman, Adesanya, Dan Hooker, you know them all. Brogan Anderson trains with them. We talk about his teammate newly signed to the UFC, Kevin Jousset, who actually will be fighting at UFC 293. And well, it's a good chat with Brogan. He's 34 years age. He's been around the game a very, very long time, and it's just good to get his thoughts on where to next and what opponents he could potentially have, and if he could do things differently, what he would do. But look, it's very interesting. If you're here for shit talk and whatnot, like I'd love to stir up. This is not one of those, but it is a very nice chat on a very entertaining fighter and a very respectful fighter. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And look, even though he's a Kiwi, Australian MMA, they're as close as ever. So you may as well enjoy one of our Anzacs coming up. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, Brogan Anderson. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the show, the arm collector, Brogan Anderson, who apparently is supposed to be fighting on Eternal 78 in Sydney. Mate, first of all, do you know what's happening?
As far as I'm concerned, they are still looking for an opponent for me. But obviously, as every day goes by, we get closer to the show without an opponent locked in. It gets less and less likely. So I'm still hopeful, but realistic.
Have you? Yeah, I was gonna say, do you give them do you give Eternal like a deadline type thing? Like if not by this date, I'm out.
No, I haven't yet. I was going to be training right up until it, so I'll just keep training at least this week anyway. And then if nothing happens, then it is what it is. But no, I'll still keep training like I'm fighting probably right through this week anyway.
Does it help having a whole bunch of boys getting ready for some fights?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm going to be a body for all the other boys as well. We all train together, so we're all working together for the same date. So regardless of whether I was fighting or not, I'll still be involved in all of those workouts with the team. So it's not too much of an extra stretch for me to just keep up the extra conditioning work that I'd be doing as well. So yeah, it's the energy's been great around here, and it's been awesome to be a part of anyway. So it's going to be disappointing if I don't get to put on a show myself, but it's been good to be a part of nonetheless.
Now, what was your first thoughts when Matt Myers went down with the injury? First of all, how did you find out?
I just saw it on Instagram. Yeah, I saw someone tagged me.
Really?
Yeah, someone just tagged me in a post of his on Instagram. So, someone shared it. Maybe it was you that shared it.
I think it might have been me.
Yeah, so there you go.
Sorry, mate.
You broke the news to me, brother. Well, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that always happens. Like promotions, obviously, I think they almost want to find some good news for you before they tell you, and then obviously, like the guy that has the injury probably breaks it a little bit too early. I know that Eternal probably wanted to maybe perhaps handle that situation better with you, but maybe they wanted to kind of have an opponent ready for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he broke that before he'd told the promotion or whether he just told the promotion and then broke it immediately himself. But either way, the result's the same anyway, isn't it? So, yeah.
Does it? I mean, you do strike me as a very professional guy, but does that bother you at all? It sounds like it hasn't gone down the best way that you would have liked.
Nah, it is. Nah, I feel for him. Like obviously I think that he wanted to fight. Like I don't think he's not looking for a way out. I think he's probably dealing with a pretty devastating injury himself. So you got to feel for that. So yeah, whatever he, it doesn't worry me.
Have you fought guys before, or perhaps had fights fall out where you were like, no, that's definitely looking for a way out?
No, that's never my decision to make, is it? Who am I to say that? yeah, I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I certainly in this case don't think that Matt Myers was looking for a way out.
Do you go into a lot of these fights? Is there ever animosity, or is it normally just respect between two great fighters?
Yeah, I don't really let animosity come into it. There have been times probably where it's crept in a little bit, where maybe I have a slight dislike for the person, but no, that's not really. It's just a game to me. It's just a sport, so I just like to go in there and compete with somebody, but it's not necessarily about yeah, about disliking the person at all.
Are you an aggressive person sort of outside where you as a youngster, or has this always just been a sport to you?
I was as a youngster. I was a pretty aggressive person, had a bit of a temper. But I think it was finding the sport that kind of took that out of me. And now I do still have that aggression in me when I compete, but it's not. Uh, yeah, I don't lose my temper like I used to when I was young. That's for sure.
When did this sport look like it could become a career for you?
Well, I started training when I was 21, and pretty quickly I didn't want to do anything else. But obviously it was quite a few years before I was realistic, before I allowed myself to believe that maybe this is something I could really be good at. Um, but within a year or two, I was all in. Like I didn't want to do anything else. I was just working as a PT at the gym so that I could train as much as I could, and I was going to give it my best shot, regardless of how far I was able to take it. But in the last like 5 or 6 years, I've known that I've got the ability to fight at the top level if I just keep working away, and if things play out well, I get a little bit of luck. Hopefully, we'll get a nod somewhere along the line. But yeah, the last 5 or 6 years, I've believed that I could definitely make a career and make some good money out of it.
Because when did you make the move to CKB?
I've been coming back and forth here for the past probably four almost maybe 5 years on and off, but I just made the move last Christmas, so like a year and a half, just over a year and a half ago. I've been living in Auckland. So yeah, that was it was a good move. I'm really happy up here now. I was just torn between here and back home. I had a good group that I was working with back home in Dunedin, and had a lot of loyalty to those ones that I was coaching down there, and I still do. But once I finally made the move and just decided I just had to go all in on myself, that was the best thing for me to do, and it's paid dividends. But I just haven't had a chance to showcase that yet.
Is it hard to sort of make that decision to move from a gym that perhaps like maybe you walked in for the very first time to learn the sport, and then obviously the move to Auckland and CKB is, I mean, if you want to reach the top, that's the place to go type thing. Is that a tough decision to make at the time?
Yeah, like I guess like I just like home. Like I liked living in Dunedin, and I had convinced myself that I could still be making all the progress I needed by splitting my time half and half, coming up here for a month, going back home for a month. But I see now that they're just committing to being up here full time has definitely helped, and has been the best thing that I could have done at the time. So yeah, it was hard to make the decision to move away, but I'm really glad I did, and I'm like happy up here in Auckland now.
Does it feel, I mean, it's a weird question to ask because, of course, Dunedin's got some great fighters as well, but to go from big fish, smaller pond to then go into this shark net of CKB, how does it feel going from kind of getting to be the man a little bit to almost like just one of the guys?
Yeah, no, it's good. That's what I want. I want to be surrounded by other people that are just as motivated as I am. And as you said, like I had some good training partners back in Dunedin, guys that could push me in different areas, but there was just no one there really that was as hungry or had the work ethic that I had. And I felt like I was like constantly trying to motivate other people, and up here, like there's people in the room that work even harder than I do, people that just blow me away with the work ethic, and that's inspiring to be around. And we all push each other. If someone's not at a workout, they're going to hear about it from the other boys. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that accountability. I've got other people holding me accountable, and I love being around that. Yeah, so it's been inspiring.
Who is the hardest worker at City Kickboxing?
I think it's hard. It's hard to put a finger on anyone in particular. There's just a lot of guys that are just really consistent. That very rarely ever miss a day. I think guys like Cam Rouston is like pretty dedicated. He's like my main training partner here, so we keep each other accountable. We do a lot of extra work. Guys like Kevin Jusay are super disciplined. Yeah, there's heaps. There's most of the guys here are all super hard workers, and I love to be around that.
How does it feel to see obviously your teammate Kevin Jusay get picked up in the UFC? I want to kind of ask you two parts to that question. You're obviously super excited and it's very humbling, but is there a little bit of, and I know jealousy is the wrong word to use, but is there a little bit of like, oh, damn, he got it. Like I wanted it next.
Yeah, like obviously I want that opportunity, but it's the same with Cam and Kevin. Like we've both kind of been in the same boat for the last couple of years, kind of just on the cusp and waiting for that opportunity. And obviously Cam's got his opportunity next week on the Contender Series, and then Kevin in Sydney. So for me, it's inspiring to see those boys get the opportunity, and as far as I'm concerned, them getting the opportunity does not take away from me. It's not like Dana White had a picture of me and a picture of Kevin in front of him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, two of them," and then he picks Kevin, and then that's me, in the bin. It's not like that. That's not how it is. Those boys have done everything that they needed to do to get the opportunity, and then they get a little bit of, things go their way. They get a little bit of luck, like and they deserve it. So, no, nothing but happy for the boys, and I know that's not. That they're not stepping on me to get that opportunity at all. So I don't look at it that way.
And I think it always looks good anyway, because of course, if they do well, then they look at your gym more. Like, I mean, everyone in the world is right now, but they do well, you get more opportunity. There really is like enough for everyone at the top.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think there's so many guys in this part of the world that are deserving of the opportunity, but the bigger promotions just aren't picking the guys up on this side of the world like they are in the States, so it's a little bit frustrating. There's a lot of guys that are in the same position as I am, that are right on the cusp, that with a bit of luck could have been picked up, but haven't been. So, I hope that, and I'm sure those two boys that are getting that opportunity, they're going to do well, and that's going to reflect well on this part of the world. And so hopefully as the guys from this part of the world just continue to take over, the UFC and PFL and the other big organizations are going to just have to keep taking notice and start trying to pick up the rest of the talent that's still sitting around over here waiting for a shot,
What's the current state of New Zealand MMA? Like, I know you've got your XFC, but you've got like your show. Are there any other shows going around? Like, what's the vibe like?
Yeah, so XFC's been running pretty consistently in Dunedin, down south where I'm from, for the last for a long time. And before that, it was not XFC, just a different promotion. And then Shuriken is the big one that runs up here in Auckland. But they're really the only two shows that are running consistently, putting on MMA fights. So it has been like tricky for guys to get fights here. Obviously now there was that period of time where there wasn't really any travel between New Zealand and Australia for a couple of years. And even after COVID, there was a period of time where travel was pretty expensive and the borders just hadn't quite fully opened up again. But now that the guys from here are picking up fights over there, it's definitely made things a little bit easier. But yeah, there's really only those two main shows. And other than that, the guys are having to fill their time in with kickboxing bouts and stuff like that.
Have you sort of flirted with the idea of Australian fights before? Because having a look at your record, I believe you had a Chaos fight. Was that in Australia? But other than that, it's all been New Zealand?
That was like my pro debut. I fought on Chaos many years ago. But then I also fought on XFC in Brisbane a couple of times. And is that it? Maybe that's it. Other than that, I've just been all over New Zealand. So yeah, I've definitely. It's not for lack of trying. There's been shows that I will have wanted to be on, but it was just we've been in a position where we were kind of hopeful to maybe get a shot on Contender Series or something like that this year, but it just didn't play out. So this shot on Eternal, getting the headline on that against Myers was the most appealing offer that I could have had. So that was something that I wanted to jump on. And now that that's out the way, hopefully we still get one on this show, but yeah, we'll see what's next.
Because you almost sound like, if you don't mind me saying, you almost sound almost like frustrated with the amount of opportunity that has kind of not gone your way. It's almost like you've had a bit of bad luck recently.
I don't know. No, I don't think I have. Knowing what I know now, I would have been more active potentially over the last couple of years. But yeah, we were kind of waiting on things to fall into place. Maybe resting on my laurels a little bit, being on a 6-fight win streak, thinking that maybe I deserved a shot, and it didn't play out. So, maybe look, in hindsight, yeah, maybe I would have been a bit more active, but it's not. I don't feel hard done by at all.
Do you get feedback at all? Like they're like, "Oh, I want more knockouts," or "We want more this, we want more that." Do you ever get any information back?
No, not really. I know my age is a factor. Maybe working against me a little bit. Now I'm 34. So I knew that every year that ticks on by, that works less and less in my favor. And I know in terms of like the contender series and stuff like that, they're looking mainly for guys that are like under 30. So yeah, other than that, not too much feedback. No.
It feels weird too to even talk about you coming into this fight, because normally I'd wrap this topic up with like about how exciting is it to get this fight in Sydney, but now we don't know if one's even going to happen. Let's say hypothetically it doesn't. What do? You just stay active? Are you going to try and jump on the next Eternal show in Gold Coast, or is there a backup plan?
Not yet. No, we're still hoping for one on this show. And then if not, then I'll just go back and I'll talk to Eugene and the management, and I'll see what they think is the best move. Yeah, I'm certainly open to offers.
Speaking of Eugene Bareman, your head coach, what makes him so special? People talk like he is Master Splinter, like he is a savant of mixed martial arts. What makes him so special?
Yeah, there's certainly a deep knowledge there. That's one thing that has blown me away since I've been here, is there's things that I thought I had like a decent handle on, and then like the coaches will get together and we'll go through a block of work in the morning, and just every day something new that I hadn't thought of before. So yeah, there's just a deep knowledge there, but it's not just that, it's the leadership and the work ethic as well. Just leading from the front. He's the one that keeps the team united, that has built the team culture here, the competitive team culture. But he's just, all the boys see how hard he works. He's the first one in the gym in the morning and one of the last to leave at night. He's here all day, teaches back to back sessions, holds pads all day. So yeah, it's not just the knowledge, but the amount of work and the amount of time that he's willing to put into the guys that has made this team special,
And a couple more questions before I let you go. When it comes to your fights, I believe like guys like John Martin Fraser were floated about, but I don't think was ready in time. Are there any guys that have been floated in front of you, or are there any middleweights out there that you would like to get in the cage with?
Yeah, John Martin Fraser was a name that was floated about. But I think it's hard. It's hard to put that on him. Like obviously he is recovering from an injury, and it's a big ask to come in 2.5 weeks out and say, "Oh, hey, do you want to fight 5 rounds and get to middleweight in time? And is your knee all right?" Like, or whatever his injury was. So I certainly don't begrudge him not jumping at that opportunity. That's a bit of a gamble. So there was his name that was floated around, and I think there were a couple others, but I'm not gonna put their name out there because I don't think that's fair. But for people to say, "Oh, why did he turn it down?" Obviously, it's not wise for people to be taking short notice fights, 2 weeks notice, and trying to, maybe they're not even able to make the weight in time. So there were a couple names that were floated around, but so far nothing has come to fruition. So,
well, here's a question then. Put it on the other foot. At 34 years of age, 2.5 weeks notice, would you take the fight
against myself?
Just
no, probably not. Like I just don't think that's smart. Yeah, like I would take a fight on less than 8 weeks notice, but I think like 2.5 weeks notice is, it depends what condition I had been in. If I had been preparing pretty diligently with the boys for something coming up, and then I felt like I was in good enough shape. But if you're not in good shape, 2.5 weeks is a pretty big ask to fight 5 rounds, isn't it?
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right, mate. Well, before I let you go, I just want to ask you one more final thing. After it's all said and done, how does Brogan Anderson want to be remembered in mixed martial arts?
Wow. That's a tough question. Just as hopefully as a bit of a leader in this part of the world, you know, a guy that was super active in New Zealand. Not obviously I wasn't a pioneer. I didn't start when the sport started, but I've been at it for a long time. And a guy who hopefully just leaves a positive impression on other people. And then hopefully I move in, like I have ambitions to move into coaching and to have my own fighters one day. So we'll see how that plays out. I've still got a lot of work to do, I think. I haven't really thought too much about that.
Well, Mr. Anderson, thank you so much for taking the time. It is a really shitty circumstance, but thanks for jumping on anyway. And hopefully they do get you a fight. There is time.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, brother.